The ABB FIA Formula E World Championship roars into life here at the Berlin Tempelhof Airport. It's round 14 of the season, and once again we are delayed due to weather. Not exactly the way we wanted to start today, I'm afraid, but that is the current situation of things. If we take a look now at the live weather forecast, you can see how much rain. Where that little dot is in the centre of Berlin, that's the rain that's filing through as well. So this session at the moment is delayed until further notice. Let's head down to our colleagues trackside and join the action.
The upshot is that free practice 3 has been delayed, the start of it this morning. We are a bit more confident of getting this one running compared to this time yesterday, but understandably a lot of standing water out there on the circuit. It's going to be safe for our drivers to go out and compete.
Well, another thing is that qualifying's just around the corner, and so from that point of view, with walls all around the circuit, if anybody touches the wall, it would be difficult for them to get the cars repaired in time for qualifying if the incident was substantial. And so from that perspective, there is a focus very much on qualifying, which is an official session. A free practice is exactly as it says. It is a practice.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, this is Oliver Rowland talking with his team. Tricky day for him yesterday. Needed strong result. Needed to finish first or second, so it was always a bit of an uphill task. But ultimately, his race came to an end when he clattered into the side of Stoffel van Dorn.
And got a 5-place grid penalty for today. So wherever he qualifies in the qualifying session later on, he will drop down 5 places. It was a clumsy manoeuvre, in all honesty, and one that... we know he's an aggressive driver, that's one thing, but that was a clumsy overtake which ultimately went wrong. But however, Oliver Rowland is so far ahead. Here you see him down the inside and just diving in and going a bit too deep. Greasy on the inside of that one. He thought it was Filipe Drugovich who is in the Mahindra and replacing for this race. It wasn't at all, so he even got the driver wrong that he had actually collided with.
Well, I suppose his argument was there, because Drugovich was on the outside. Drugovich was actually a lap down following this safety car restart, so I guess he's trying to say that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, the wrong place at the wrong time was the car that he hit, unfortunately. Anyway, whichever way, he still has got a huge, monstrous lead in the championship. And we can say all we like, he's by far the best position in the championship. And from that perspective, I think he goes in today, as long as he can do the reset, literally forget yesterday. History cannot change it. Just get back on with the job, build up the momentum, focus on qualifying. If you're at the front, you're out of that mix of people pushing and shoving, and then pick up some good points today. Yeah,
that's his first DNF of 2025. Katie Mullings, you were watching here in the commentary box. What did you make of the race yesterday?
Well, I think it was everything that we thought it might be in the wet. You know, it definitely throws up new challenges, I think, but it offers more opportunities. I think qualifying becomes a bit less important. And obviously with the pit boost race, I think you have more opportunities to spice the lineup up if you haven't had the best qualifying. So I think we definitely saw that yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Not quite sure what's going to happen this morning in terms of qualifying as well, for that matter, because again we haven't really had, well, we haven't had any 350 kilowatt running in qualifying this weekend, courtesy of the duels being cancelled yesterday. You can see the Drivers' Championship, 50 points advantage there for Oliver Rowland over Pascal Wehrlein. Mitch Evans elevated himself right up the order with 25 points, only his second point-scoring finish of the Season 11 campaign, and it has literally been win or bust for Mitch Evans. He's either won the race or he's not finished in the points at all. So he'll be hoping for more great fortune here this morning. You see the session will start at 9:15 local time, so about 13 minutes or so, which is great news. Let's get down and catch up with Antonio Felix da Costa, though, in the meantime.
Antonio Felix da Costa, we're seeing now that the session will start in about 10, just over 10 minutes time. What are your assessment of the conditions today?
It's wet and slippery. But no, honestly, we have to go out. I think it's not raining that hard, and yes, we don't have a full wet tire, so we have to be a bit cautious with these type of decisions. But yeah, let's go. I'm game.
Yesterday, of course, you had a good battle. It was a good performance, but ultimately there was a penalty towards the end of the race. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was a solid day of racing, to be honest. We qualified 6th, did a good race, finished 3rd on the road, but on our way there, I touched Jake Hughes and I spun him around, so it's my fault. I kind of misjudged the gaps. I was just coming out of attack mode. I thought I had a run on him, and then I tried to back out of it and just a bit late, and in those mixed conditions, mixed power levels and all that, I mean, no excuses. It was my fault. So the penalty was deserved, but a costly one. You know, costed us a podium, many points. But yeah, excluding that, it was a solid day of racing with another podium effectively on track. So yeah, motivated for today.
It did unfortunately cost you that third position in the Drivers' Championship as well, losing out. Only a few points in it with Taylor Barnard. Are you going to try and get that back today?
100%. You know, for P2, P3, it's still pretty close. So 3 races left should be fun.
Thanks, Antonio.
Cheers.
Great to hear from Antonio Felix da Costa, challenging into the race, as he said, following that contact with Jake Hughes at the end of the race. You can see the Teams Championship, though, taken by Porsche, with Pascal Wehrlein finishing in second place yesterday, means that they now have a 30-point advantage over Nissan, which is great news for them because it gives them a little bit more of a buffer compared to the 10 that they started this weekend with. So just over 10 minutes to go until we get the third free practice session of the weekend underway. I think this is going to be pretty pivotal because this time yesterday we didn't have this. It got cancelled, didn't it, due to the inclement weather. So this is pretty much the best opportunity these drivers have got to get the car set up in time for quali later on. Yeah,
the question is, what is the condition going to be for quali? Even though it's just in a couple of hours, it actually can change quite a lot if there's heavier rain or lighter rain, tyre pressures and all of the other different areas. And that's one of the things that I think is quite tricky around here, because the weather is actually changing differently to what we expected on the radar, and that's going to be the same for all the teams.
I think also there's some lightning that's due around the time of qualifying, and if we look back a couple of races, we saw Nissan trying to go out and set some fast laps at the beginning of free practice because they knew that the weather was going to change for quali, and therefore the grid would be sat from free practice, and they'd been practicing that, they said, in their simulator when they'd seen the forecast a few days earlier. So I would expect to see drivers trying to charge out and get some times in very early into the session.
I would completely agree with you. Yeah, you can see the cagoules going on and the brollies going up in the grandstand just to try and prepare for these conditions. The rain's still coming down. We think at a relatively moderate intensity at the moment. We'll get Alan to stick his head outside of the commentary box and tell us what he reckons of it. But
he's pulling a funny face.
Yeah, I know.
Well, if you call that moderate,
is it hammering down?
I call it slightly more than moderate.
Is it cats and dogs out there, is it? Right.
Cats, dogs, cows, donkeys. There's a whole load of things falling out the sky, but it is quite heavy now. The thing is, I think there was the rain that happened yesterday in the afternoon was a light rain, but a lot of it, whereas now it's big, heavy drops that are coming down. So it is going to be quite entertaining. And I think the biggest thing that you'll find is that it'll take a bit longer to generate tyre temperature. And the other factor about it was you'll see quite a lot of people struggling to put the power onto the ground with traction issues, wheel spin, oversteer, Dan Tictum territory for social media gold.
I was going to say, do you think that there is a possibility you could see drivers going in and doing, attack mode laps pretty early on with the four-wheel drive, just try and get as good a possible lap time as they can?
I think so, but also we've seen in the wet that the attack mode and the four-wheel drive specifically gives them more stability than the rear-wheel drive car. So I think that they all prefer to be in attack mode and to be getting as many laps in as they can in these conditions. Obviously, for group stages, they've got the 300 kilowatts. They've only got rear-wheel drive, so they need to practice both. But I think you can see on the floor here, I was speaking to some of the drivers yesterday, and they were saying the problem is it's just such an uneven surface there that the water just hangs in all of those little grooves, which is what causes the problem that they have out there. And also it's flat because it's an airfield, so it's not running away. There's no drainage really.
Exactly. The other thing is that there's like pebbles. If you think of a beach, they're like pebbles on the beach, and also they're very, very shiny on top, and so they're also slippery as well. So it is quite a tricky surface. It's a funny one in the dry, because in the dry it generates a lot of temperature, but it doesn't actually generate a lot of grip. And that's something that's always been the case around here. It's something that either some teams get it right, some teams definitely do not.
It's quite an abrasive surface, isn't it, this airfield, being the concrete sort of thing. So, like you say, brings up the tyre temperature, but also, I can imagine, wears them out quicker. Yeah,
it's more a thermal than an actual wear, so
right.
the actual tread doesn't run off the tyre, and because this is an all-weather tyre, so this is a tyre they would use in torrential rain, light rain, damp, dry, and so from that perspective it doesn't wear down the rubber, it just makes them overheat and they struggle with temperature.
Well, you can see the plight of Mitch Evans' season so far. No real results to shout about up until the win in Berlin yesterday. And to be fair to him, an absolutely commanding victory as well. So Mitch Evans there stood in the box for the Jaguar TCS racing team, and he'll be hoping to add to that strong result that he got here yesterday. 13th he is now in the Drivers' Championship. It's incredible, really, because I looked at the championship standings this time 12 months ago. Both he and Nick Cassidy were in prime contention for it going into the final weekend of the season. Obviously, it didn't work out for them, but they got the Teams' Championship. 12 months later, how different the tables have turned.
It just seems to be all or nothing for him. I mean, you know, his win yesterday and then not having any points before that all season, apart from his win in Sao Paulo. If you want to be on any step of the podium, of course, you want to be on the top, but I think you would have appreciated a few points in between. But yeah, he was saying yesterday at the end of the race that it was almost like he found it easier than he thought it was going to be. It built up in his head, and then the race actually executed perfectly. And it just reminds you of how clinical Jaguar are when it goes right for them. And he was also saying that in the wet, you know, a couple of races ago, he was 2 seconds off the pace and couldn't figure it out. Not really doing anything differently here, and he's suddenly absolutely flying and setting a lap a second faster than anyone else in this qualifying stage. So something's working. I'm not sure if he could put his finger on what it was, though, yesterday.
No, you can see where he came across the line and celebrating with the team down in Parc Ferme afterwards. Alan, have you got any idea what it is that's caused this turnaround in fortune for Mitch Evans?
No. Very sorry, but I do not. I think actually the fact is, in the conditions of yesterday, on lap 1 in qualifying, he had a car that he understood below him.
Yesterday's
Let's
race
catch up with
did not
Tommaso
end in a
Volpe.
way I'm sure you wanted it at all. I imagine you're very keen to get out there and get going and get that championship won.
Yeah, of course, we try to focus immediately to the race today. It was an accident, it can happen, a mistake. It's okay, so let's focus today.
Can you give us a sense of Oliver's mentality after yesterday going into today? Is he still ready for the fight?
I think this morning it was like at the beginning of any other race day, so he's in a very right mindset at the moment. Maybe yesterday at the moment, like the whole team, but if anything, we had the privilege to win the championship 3 races in advance compared to the end of the season. So that's why it hurt a little bit, but overall it's because we are having an amazing season this year.
It's looking like very difficult conditions again, not just for this session, but potentially for the rest of the day. What are your weather radars saying?
Well, apparently it will definitely rain until 10:30 this morning, and then we'll start again. So it will definitely a wet race, that's for sure.
Thanks, Tommaso.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good to hear there from Tommaso Volpe. Well, 4 minutes to go until practice 3 gets underway here this morning. So last preparations going on for the teams and the drivers. Oliver Rowland now in the Nissan. On the other side of the garage this weekend, Sergio Sette Camera. He was a driver that was in the wars, had a bit of contact with another competitor. Let's have a look at another incident here for Oliver Rowland. This is Eden Mortara, who careened into the side of him going down into the hairpin of turns 9 and 10. Bit of a robust overtake there from the Swiss driver, who eventually would go on to finish P3.
Yeah, it was a bit late, to be honest with you. He wasn't really, he kind of just was always going to run into the side of him. There was no further action there because both cars survived and it wasn't a major incident, but it was definitely a bit of argy-bargy, and it was quite clear that Oliver Rowland was the pinball there.
Yeah, can't say he was best pleased with that. Neither was the team principal, Tommaso Volpe. Let's have a look at Edo Mortara's machine. So P3 for that Mahindra team yesterday. If you remember back to Jakarta as well, they were on the verge of becoming winners with, well, Nick de Vries and also Edo Mortara to a degree as well. But yeah, because he was right up the gearbox of Dan Tickton at the end of the race. Ultimately, it proved to be a podium finish. So a second successive one there for Eduardo Mortara. But that team, great run of form they've had in 2025. That makes it now their 3rd podium finish this season, which is fantastic.
And Jake Dennis yesterday had a dreadful race. The car did not move at the start and was stuck on the grid. Lucky no one hit him up the back. And there you see the Soul car as he's trying to do a reset and get it moving again. Here we are, 3 cars ahead. Look how close Buemi is just as he jukes to the side and misses him. And then ultimately got going, but trundled around and into the pits to... and it was before the actual start. He was already waving his hands, you see. Now he goes into first gear and clicks into 1. in preparation.
Well, he was saying
Nothing.
he was saying to the team that he couldn't even do the burnout, which is a pretty customary thing in Formula E, because of course we don't have information laps here, so the drivers go back a row basically when they line up on the grid initially. They move a row forward, do the burnout, and will then line up in their proper grid position. But Dennis not able to do that, so he knew he was in trouble before the race had even started. Unfortunately, the DNF, or a DNS really, for Jake Dennis, to be completely honest, and a big shame there for the Season 9 World Champion. Results have been hard to come by for him. He has had a podium finish this season, but other than that, again, there's not really been particularly a lot to shout about. It hasn't been victorious since Diria.
Did have sorry for the delay. We will start at 9:15. Track is wet, but we did our best to clean racing line using the proper heavy-duty equipment. So I wish you good luck. Just pay attention at the entry of turn 6. Maybe you need to do some runs there to help us out with drying the track there. Thank you very much.
So Marek Aniszewski there instructing the race drivers to help with track cleanup operations.
I love that. I wish you good luck.
I do like that.
When they pass the baton over to drivers.
It's down to you now, lads. Off you go. See how you get on. So that's down at turn 6, which is the hairpin, isn't it? Going into the middle sector of the lap. This corner is turn 6. You can see a fair bit of standing water. And this surface as well, of course, it is concrete, but you can see the pools of water that sit there. They don't really move, unlike you get on a tarmac track, because this surface isn't porous in particularly any way, shape or form. So you just get that water sitting there until these cars are going to dissipate it when they come through, in theory.
Should happen quite quickly within a few laps.
Yeah, we should hope so. Well, anyway, drivers then in the pit lane ready to go. Green light is about to come on, and after a 15-minute delay, we will get free practice 3 underway as 22 drivers filter out of their garage boxes into the pit lane and onto the circuit for the first time here today. Now, we're expecting, because of the rain, drivers to go out and try and set lap times pretty quickly in this session, but you can see a fair amount of spray and standing water here.
Yeah, there's a lot of spray, actually. This is more than there was in qualifying yesterday. And there's more standing water. So I think what people will try and do is do what Oliver Rowland is just to try and give a gap to the car ahead so that he can see as he now goes out. And you hear definitely a lot of wheel spin.
Yeah, it's coming down into turn 2, Skymaster corner. That's where the attack mode will be activated under racing conditions, and now a bit of a journey into the unknown through into turns 3 and 4. This is where we saw DaCosta and Hughes coming together towards the end of the race yesterday. Those sequence of corners actually been opened up quite a bit compared to oh, look at that. Even this is coming on what would be a straight really in the drive, but becomes a corner in the wet through turn 5 into 6 and 7, and lighting up the rear tyres as he tries to keep it on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, it looks like ice driving out there at the minute. Holding your breath, certainly, for the first few laps until that water's cleared.
You're pretty handy with off-road driving, Casey. You want to go out there and give them some tips?
Do you know, I've always thought if I was to go into a Formula E race, I'd rather it be in the wet than the dry. I feel like this is a surface that I feel like I could, stick it to the drivers on more than on when they're finding the limits on the dry, for sure.
You can see it's all angles and elbows on this this formation lap, really. And again, a fair amount of standing water and spray on the racing line, off the racing line, all around the circuit at the moment, and the rain continuing to come down here in these early stages of FP3.
Yeah, I really thought we might have a dry race today.
Well,
Yeah, but where?
Yeah,
Certainly not in Berlin.
The irony is, back at home in the UK, it is bright and sunny and 30 degrees. I guarantee when we go there in a fortnight's time for the finale, there's going to be some inclement weather coming in. It's just that whatever it happens to be, it seems to just follow us around in Formula E at the moment. So into turns 3 and 4, you can just see them fighting for grip and for traction. They're on their first flying laps here in this session.
Finding out where the puddles are, they're finding out where the grip is. This is more exploratory than necessarily trying to lay down a lap time.
Yeah.
And now there's a second group of cars coming out the pit lane because not everybody went out straight away. So, for example, David Beckman, Lucas Di Grassi, Drugovic, Maloney, Tictum, Mortara have now just gone out onto the track for their first laps.
See Roden trying to get some heat in his tyres back there as well.
Yeah, he's not hanging about here, is he? Just trying to get that car into the right sort of operational window. It is going to be a bit of an uphill task. First lap time's coming in at 1 minute 19 from Mitch Evans and Nick Cassidy. That's about
24.
Yeah.
24 seconds off a dry time, and that is obviously quite significant. When they started yesterday in the wet conditions, they were at 16.
Yeah, so plenty of time for these track conditions to improve as we come around the final corner again. And across the timeline here then with Oliver Rowland, we saw him struggling with traction and grip, and indeed he is the slowest of the 5 drivers that has set a lap time in this early stage of the session. There is Pascal Wehrlein.
Just a reminder, quali session on the wet, our main time loss were turn 9 and last corner, and both were tighter line, so turn 9 a lot tighter, turn 12, 13 a tiny bit tighter line.
There was quite different lines yesterday in the wet, and that's one thing that Mitch Evans sorted out very quickly, especially in that final corner that they were talking about there. For Pascal Wehrlein was just a little bit tighter, seems to be a little bit quicker. The wider you go, which is normally what you would think, then it didn't give as much grip as it was when it was slightly narrower. However, that was yesterday. Let's see today, because there's much more standing water.
It was interesting, wasn't it, in the race yesterday, because we had a drying track for the first time. Oh, look at DaCosta there, just fighting control of the car going down into turn 6 and 7. Massive snap of oversteer, and again, just look at that standing water. And I have to say, track conditions don't look like they're improving. If anything, they look like they're getting worse, to be completely honest with you, at least from that camera angle.
I think it's the spray that you're seeing at the moment. It's making it, the puddles are still going to be there. And the problem is that you're accelerating round those curves, so therefore you've always got a little bit of steering angle, which means that when you've got one axle that's over the water and the other one that's not, then you tend to get a bit of a kick.
Yeah, now starting to see a few quicker lap times coming in. Dennis has just got into the 1 minute 15s, but Wemmy, 10th of a second behind him there as well. Drugovic is in a full power attack mode lap in P5 as well, so let's see what he is going to be able to do in this one and how much grip the four-wheel drive and extra 350 kilowatts of power is going to be able to afford the Brazilian driver. Had some good pace actually in the early stages of qualifying yesterday, so let's see what he can do. Goes into the 1 minute 14s, a second clear of Jake Dennis, so that just goes to show the advantage as we look through the wall of spray at Pascal Wehrlein down into T2.
Oh, that was a bit wide by Wehrlein.
I think he was going for the attack mode, just doing a bit of a test there. Yeah. Didn't look like it was unintentional, because another driver following him through into there as well. But yeah, Wehrlein on a full power lap there as well, for that matter. I wonder if he's just exploring the...
I think he went in a bit deep, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I would like to say it was intentional, but I'm not sure it was.
No, you might have a point there. Oh, just look at him locking the rears coming down into this one, and again...
He's attacking too much at the moment. You know, he's been wide on 3 of the corners.
Yeah, Mortara following him into that turn there as well, for that matter. Yeah, track conditions suboptimal at this stage of the session. It is Felipe Drugovic that is fastest, though, with 33 minutes remaining of this session. I suppose the point is, if track conditions do worsen, the rain comes down heavier, they throw out a red flag. These lap times are going to be pretty important, because it would determine the grid for qualifying later on, if indeed that was cancelled as well. So through the final corner we see for Pascal Wehrlein, he went fastest in that second sector, despite quite literally looking all at sea. Comes to the timeline, it's not going to be anything to particularly shout about there. Goes into 13th quickest, some 3.5 seconds off the pace. Let's have a look at Oliver Rowland in the Nissan then, coming down into turn 1 and turn 2, which just goes to show the lack of grip, because we saw Wehrlein going a bit deep, and Rowland also doing exactly the same thing. His teammate Sete Camara following suit as well.
Yeah, they're floating there. There's a lot of aquaplaning down into that first corner, and that's what's happening. It's on the braking point that the car is effectively lifting up off the ground and floating over there, so their retardation is significantly less, and they just can't get it stopped.
It's horrible, that feeling of aquaplaning when you're in a car and you've just got no grip at all, and you know, no real control over what's happening.
Well, the thing is, normally you can handle driving in the wet, because normally in a kind of normal road surface or also on tracks, you get areas with puddles, and then you get areas where it clears and you get the grip, and you're always looking for those grips. As long as you're going straight through the water, you can deal with it. But here it seems to be, with this flat surface and also with the undulations in the surface, the water's just everywhere, and trying to find those little patches of grip is a real challenge. And I think that's not a very nice feeling when you're out there on track.
There's a lot of decreasing radius corners here, aren't there, as well, where you're sort of braking as you're turning, especially going down into turn 2, which is why you're seeing drivers struggling with grip going into there. The rear's kind of all at sea, the car's out of balance because the weight's over the front, and that's why they're sliding so much down into Skymaster, you can see their Verline not really on an attack mode lap, but again having to make constant corrections of the steering.
But he was quickest, and so therefore that lap time put him in P1 at the moment, 13.286, so 1.3 seconds quicker than Drugovic was able to achieve earlier on. And so they are the only two people really at the front, apart from Sam Bird in 6th, that has done a full power lap.
One driver who will be loving these conditions is the man we just saw, Dan Ticktum. He's sliding his way. He's only 19th quickest at the moment in the Cooper Kiro. Came home in 9th yesterday. The team actually made a few setup changes prior to the start of the race, and spoke to Alex Wee. He said, we're not really sure if it's going to work, but we're going to give it a go and see what happens. Ultimately, it wasn't quite the result that that team would have been hoping for.
Yeah, as we were watching Edo Mortara on the podium yesterday, then the podium in the championship is Taylor Barnard down in 8th, but he's on a full power lap as well. Quickest first sector of everybody. That guy has got a lot of momentum at this moment in time. Superb season so far, and is now up into 3rd place in the championship after his 4th place in the race yesterday.
Yeah, if his paddock rumours are to be believed, he's off to Penske for next season. Whether that's with DS branding, we're not 100% sure at the moment. Some rumours swirling around as to whether the DS name will continue in Formula E. Will it be a different title sponsor, different partnership with the Stellantis group, as Edo Mortara goes to the top of the pile by half a second? So into the 1:12. Lap times now continuing to fall as the rain comes down. Fred Bertrand watching on, CEO and team principal of Mahindra. Steadied that ship over the last couple of seasons following tumultuous time at beginning to Gen 3. The podium that Lucas Di Grassi got was a bit of a hiding to nothing really for the rest of the season, because the team struggled with constant power unit issues throughout season 9. They regrouped, rehired, restructured over the off-season, and now they are reaping the rewards. Constant podium finishes this season on a few occasions, 2 back-to-back for Edo Mortara in Jakarta and here yesterday in Berlin. Now, what about Mitch Evans? What can he do in the Jaguar TCS racing machine? Personal best for him in Sector 1 and Sector 2. It's not going to be anything to light up the timing screens, but he improves up to 15th quickest, but that, of course, was not a full-power attack mode lap. He was still in 2-wheel drive there. Ooh, a bit close for comfort with Nico Müller down into turn 2 as well.
And Nico just finishing his lap there.
Let's have a look. You just try and pick him out through the wall of spray coming down the start-finish straight. He had a big snap, so he was out of control, wasn't he, here? And that was the previous lap to the one we just saw. Just, again, the car floating on top of the surface as the tyres struggling to clear the water. Müller 4th fastest at the moment, as Roland comes out of the pit lane once again. So opportunity knocks here for some of the drivers, I reckon, that maybe you wouldn't see featuring up the sharper end of the grid in the wet conditions. Jake Hughes in particular yesterday, Casey, in qualifying, he was pretty handy.
He was.
A few surprises.
He was, yeah. But I think also yesterday's race will be slightly different to today's race.
Oh, red flag. We've got a red flag. I presume that's down to track conditions. So race direction deeming it no, it's Antonio Felix da Costa who's taken a wheel off.
No, the wheel's fallen off. He hasn't taken a wheel off. The wheel has fallen off there. It looks like right rear.
What is it about practice sessions this weekend with Antonio Felix da Costa having something go wrong? He got taken out by his teammate Pascal Wehrlein in practice 1, and I practiced through the rear wheels come off.
Turn 10. Everyone who has passed this car can accelerate and increase the speed more than 50 kph, please.
So the red flag's out, session
suspended. Down at turn 9 and 10, so that's the hairpin after 6 and 7, essentially. So the second of the switchback hairpins, the left-hander at the moment. Da Costa was 21st on the order prior to that red flag, but of course he's not really in a place to get it recovered all that quickly. The upshot is it's going to be an early end for the session for Da Costa, which is not going to help his form going into qualifying. And after a disappointing end to his race yesterday following that 5-second penalty.
Which way was it? Rear right. Rear right, copy.
So for Antonio Felix da Costa, not an end to the session, not what Tag Heuer Porsche would have wanted. And also, in practice, the clock counts down as the red flag is out. Let's have a look at what happened then. So we're coming down into turns 9 and 10. Keep an eye out on the left-hand side of your picture. He's already slowed down here, so I assume he knows something's not quite right. So we come into here, and the left, or the right rear wheel is just going to slide off. And he is going to come gracefully to a stop as that overtakes him.
Odd thing is I didn't see a wheel nut on it, or a wheel nut coming off. I'm not sure if my eyesight needs a bit of revision, but it looked like the wheel nut was already off by the time that he came into shot.
How bizarre. I don't think I've ever seen that. We saw a wheel come off earlier this season with Mitch Evans, but that's after he clattered the barrier back in Tokyo. For it to come off of seemingly its own accord is rather interesting.
It's also lucky that he's not, you know, that's not happened in a high-speed place, or that he's also had some warning on that, because that could have been quite a lot of damage.
Yeah, not ideal at all there for Da Costa, or indeed the other drivers, as it brings an early end to Da Costa's session, but also for the other drivers, they're going to lose about 3 or 4 minutes of track time here. They may add it on to the end of the session, depending on the length of the red flag. But we'll wait and see on that one as Da Costa walks back. Well, the good news is Da Costa, okay, 2 thumbs up after that one. And now a bit of work to go on in the Tank Oil Porsche camp to try and work out exactly what happened. So let's have a look. So he's had a pit stop here where he's changed over the rear tyres. Have they cross-threaded the nuts or something? Let's have a look. So wheel goes off. Wheel goes on. I see him coming out of pit lane, really, to see what happened. Front goes off, front goes on. Everything looks all right and pretty standard from what we could see. I wonder if we'll get a view later on in the lap as to whether the wheel nut came off or what happened there, whether it was some kind of failure of some description. It all looked pretty standard there in the pit lane from what I could see.
Yeah, you don't know the torque that actually the wheel gun was able to put onto it, so there'll be an investigation into why that exactly happened. And ultimately, the issue for him, though, is that he's out of this session right now, and he's 21st. So again, coming back to your point, weather, if it rains, if qualifying has got an issue, then he's going to be starting at the back of the grid.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, the Tank Oil Porsche machine now being recovered on the back of the low loader after that one there for Da Costa. And the good thing is he's okay, as Katie quite rightly said. It's very handy that it didn't happen at a higher speed part of the track, and that he was clearly given some warning of something being not quite right with the car. Let's have another look at what happened then, so we can see on board looking back. Keep an eye out stage left, because that wheel was about to...
Yeah, it's wobbling now already.
Yeah, he'll have known something was not quite right there. And it's just going to gracefully slide off. Let's have a listen. Metal on concrete. Never an attractive sound, is it?
One of the worst sounds in motorsports.
Yeah, but it looks like if you look at the actual spindle itself, looks like there's some damage onto that. You could see some light areas onto it. So,
well, what this does now do with this red flag period, as I was just about to mention, it gives teams an opportunity to maybe have a bit of a play around with the setup. You can see Roland's team there just making a few adjustments to the front dampers.
I think adjustment I would prefer than play around.
Can we go back on the setup stuff? On the bars, please.
So we've obviously had a chat overnight and looked at their data from the wet conditions. So they wouldn't have had any running in the morning before quali, so the race from yesterday is really what they're going by for the setup today. He's tried a few laps. He's down in 18th at the minute, so we were saying earlier about getting laps in early just in case anything happens with red flags and cancelled qualis, and at the minute, in championship fight, Berline's up in 2nd, so he'd be in a preferable place for qualifying later on today for the grid if it was to go as it sets now. So Oliver Roland's going to be coming out and needing to set some laps for that security in this session.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And he'll be hoping that the rain has eased off a little bit between when the red flag was thrown and when the session does eventually resume. We'll wait and see on that one. Hopefully the lap times will continue to count down and we'll see some further improvements. At the moment, Eder Mortara, quickest driver of the lot, ahead of Pascal Wehrlein. Stoffel van Dorn there up in 3rd position. Max Günther, he's down in 19th place, which is not where the DS Penske driver would be. If indeed qualifying did get cancelled due to the rain and the possible thunderstorms that we're expecting, this would be a very jumbled up grid order going into the E-Prix this afternoon.
Well, we had a pretty jumbled up grid order yesterday and produced a pretty intense race at the end.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one for the E-Prix coming into this afternoon. No pit boost for the drivers to worry about, but good to see Da Costa back into the pit box there and just giving a quick handshake to all of his crew to show his appreciation for their efforts.
Get your cockpit interest. Just have a look at the wheel and the thing, because it was...
That's a nice touch, actually, because...
I think it's fine. I don't look, but, you know,
Yeah.
the brake disc and the brake caliper.
No, so even in the TV it was...
So, saying he thinks that the brake disc, the brake calipers are all okay.
Can you get ready?
But just trying to have a listen in there, really. Yeah, so anyway, Da Costa then, well, it looks like they're going to try and get the car back in, try and get it back out for the session. They are under investigation, by the way, the team and Da Costa, for an unsafe release.
That's automatic.
Yeah, unsurprising, obviously.
He's a great team player, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
you know, going around shaking all of his mechanics' hands. Obviously, something's happened at the pit stop. He's one that's always looking at the bigger picture, isn't he? And thanking his team, and he's in it with everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, look at yesterday. He obviously clattered into the back of Jake Hughes, completely unintentional, but took full responsibility for the incident. Said, you know what, hold my hands up. It was my fault. I messed up, and all I've got to do is reset and go again. Again, not exactly what he would have wanted to have happened in FP3, but nonetheless, just trying to remain positive in the face of adversity as the car is recovered back to the pit lane. And, well, with a bit of luck, I thought that would be the end of his session, but hopefully they can get that repaired if it's not too big of an issue. And we will see Da Costa back out.
And so with 20 minutes to go, even though that red flag, they're not going to extend any time in this session. So there's 20 minutes to go between now and the end, and ultimately the last few laps before qualifying.
Yeah, so what have we lost? About 5 minutes of the session there and thereabouts?
7 minutes.
Yeah, about that. So it's a fair amount of time out on track, isn't it, to be losing? You see Robin Freitz, he got a bit unlucky yesterday in the race, didn't he? Finished 13th after being right up the sharp end of it. He was your hot tip.
Well, he was on the front row of the grid, and he's always very quick and difficult inclement conditions, but ultimately being competitive in the first half and then kind of got shuffled out of the points somehow in the second half of the race.
Yeah, it was an interesting second half of that race. I think the lapped cars after the safety car period.
Okay, Nico, we'll have to put a lap on 350. So as soon as you feel it's fine, you take attack and we go. But you will be the man to decide that. But we'd like to do it as soon as possible, and then we have the second one a bit later.
I suppose that's the worry, isn't it? The further it's delayed this session, obviously, the more chance there is of more weather coming in. Go out, set a fast lap time as quick as you possibly can, and secure a strong position in this session, depending on, again, as we know, what may happen for qualifying. We've just got confirmation the session will restart at 37 minutes past the hour, so just over a minute to go, and drivers will be back out on track as we look at Dan Ticktum sliding his way round. Currently 13th fastest is the British driver, the winner from Jakarta.
We're charged up for the rest of the session, so yeah, we'll go out, but then if we want to change something, yeah, free to box again and try something.
Slightly more relaxed affair there in the Cupra Kiro camp as drivers then getting themselves ready to go out on track. We look here at Maximilian Günther down in 19th position in the standings. You can see one of the strong results he had was bringing home a 1-2 finish for DS Penske in Shanghai. 2 victories he's had so far this season, but again, we're not quite sure as to whether it's going to be him or Jean-Eric Vergne staying at the Penske team for 2026 going into season 12. We understand, as I said earlier on, that Barnard is likely to end up in one of those seats, but will it be Vergne or will it be Günther who joins him alongside? Only time will tell. We're sort of waiting for the domino to fall at this silly stage of the season, aren't we, really? Rumour is that this man here, Da Costa, could be off to pastures new, possibly with Jaguar.
Waiting for that first domino to fall.
So, session then about to resume here for free practice 3. We've lost about 7 or 8 minutes of track time after a red flag following Antonio Felix da Costa's wheel coming off of the car going down into turn 9 and 10. But with just under 18 minutes left on the clock, the green flag flies, the session does resume, and cars filter out onto the circuit. And as we heard from Nico Müller, very important to get a strong lap time in as soon as you possibly can. Just a bit of housekeeping, by the way. You're looking at the 2 Lola Yamaha Apt machines there of De Grassi and Zane Maloney. They've got a special livery this weekend. They've partnered up with Superman, the film franchise, and they've got a livery on their car and also some special race suits as well. Although I have to say, I wasn't expecting to see Zane Maloney doing a Superman leap from his car in the photo shoots yesterday.
What's the link with Berlin there? Is there a Berlin link or is it...
Well, it's being promoted quite heavily around here, so I have to say I haven't seen the film. I wonder whether there's a part of it
well, that's what I was
maybe
thinking.
been filmed around here or something like that.
Or Lucas or Zane are actually starring in the film.
That'll be interesting, wouldn't it? Anyway, cars out on track. Only one driver remaining in the pit lane, and that is Stoffel Van Dorn at the moment. So I'm not quite sure what that's about. Oh, it's Sergio Sette Camera also in the box there as well. So maybe just a couple of adjustments going on in the red flag period that they've not quite been able to get to grips with.
Looks a bit drier in the 7 or 8 minutes since the stoppage.
Yeah, I've just seen them making a bit of time. I think that's Nico Müller just trying to do a couple of burnouts there and build a bit of tyre temp.
Yeah, and also remember they said you're going on a 350, and so therefore from that point of view he wants to make sure that he's got the gaps as well to be able to execute a clean 350 lap without traffic.
It's getting a bit scrappy here into the final couple of corners, isn't it? Robin Freitzer just getting done over by Taylor Barnard. Barnard also looking to put a move on. Oh goodness me, it's all at sea here, isn't it, really, as they're trying to fight for crucial track position. You'd think this was the last couple of minutes of qualifying, given how they're out on track at the moment. But here we are in FP3, and such is the importance of this session.
Yeah, but that was a little bit scrappy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's not exactly what Nico Müller would have been expecting, nor Robin Freitz for that matter as well. So let's see how track conditions have changed between the red flag period and the cars re-emerging out on track. There is your most recent race winner in Formula E, Mitch Evans, currently 15th quickest at the moment. He's got a nice bit of clear air in front and behind, actually, for that matter.
Yeah, he does. And there's the Porsche.
Yeah, Da Costa's car not back.
No.
And ready to go out in this session. He's got his helmet on, ready to go. But he's got to wait for the all clear, I assume, from...
Not sure how he can get back into the session once
that's what I thought.
The car's been recovered manually out of it. It should normally be sitting in a sort of park frenée state, I would assume.
Well, they've got to make sure it's safe to go out, obviously, and, you know, have they got enough time to do that? It might be a couple of laps at the end of the session if he's given the all clear. But, yeah, would have lost a fair amount of track time. And, as you said earlier on, if we do end up with this thunderstorm coming in prior to qualifying, and indeed that gets delayed, maybe cancelled, Da Costa would be 21st on the grid.
Just one thing coming back to that sort of kerfuffle at the final corner. Taylor Barnard's lap time on that previous lap and also on his flying lap are going to be cancelled due to track limits, because he was actually off the circuit as he was scrapping with someone. I'm not sure who it was in the spray.
Yeah, it was Müller. He was trying to get his elbows out on, wasn't he? Da Costa's car has now been recovered back to the box as we see Mitch Evans just going a little bit deep there down at turns 9 and 10. But they'll be just doing a couple of bits of post-mortem on that Porsche just to try and make sure it's safe to go out again. 14 minutes left to go in this one. You see a few personal best sector times coming in, and indeed faster sector times, actually, courtesy of Lucas Di Grassi. Sette Camera's under investigation for a red flag infraction as well. He was given a penalty in the race yesterday after contact. So not a particularly happy return for the Brazilian driver. Let's have a look at what happened, though, for Taylor Barnard. This is the move he was putting on Nico Müller. Was there contact between the two there?
Oh, come on, mate. This guy's almost pushed me off the track.
I don't know there. I mean, the gap's always going to close. And I mean, let's have a look at it on board. Let's take another judgment. So he's on the outside here of Robin Freitz.
This is Taylor.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not talking about the Müller thing. He's talking about Freitz not giving him room on the outside here, isn't he?
Oh, Robin was looking in his right-hand mirror as well.
Right.
Unless his neck was getting tired and he was leaning up against the side of the...
That angle really shows it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Action station's going, oh, hang on, we've got a new front jackman down the tackle in Porsche. His name is Antonio Felix da Costa.
You can see how frustrated he is. He's just wanting to get behind the wheel now.
He knows the importance of it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
This is he's now 22nd.
Understandably.
Yeah.
And he's a man that's, you know, I know it's a slim chance, but mathematically he's still fighting for the championship, so stuff like this really matters.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He'll be wanting to really capitalise on it as much as he possibly can.
Nico Müller locking up the rear coming into turns 9 and 10. He's popped himself up into third place so far.
Yeah.
Mortara still quickest, Verline half a second off, but Müller is the fastest of anyone since the red flag.
Yeah, timing screen's lighting up like a rental car dashboard here in the last 12 minutes of the session. Müller on an absolute flyer. 4th quickest at the moment as he comes to the timing line. This is going to send him to the top of the order, but by how much? 2 seconds over Eder Mortara. So track conditions are improving. It's definitely getting quicker, and this man here wants to try and take full advantage of it. Da Costa back in the cockpit, being strapped in as they just still
work. They're trying to clean up the threads on the hub there. You see, as they're, it was basically, if you think of it, threads and a spindle, and it looks like it's had some sort of cross threading there, and they're trying to clean it up to put a nut back on. So it's certainly no guarantee that with 11 minutes that he's going to get out.
Yeah, like I said, it could just be a couple of laps to the end of the session. Van Dorn's just popped himself up to P2 in the Maserati as well. He was pretty handy in the wet in Tokyo, if you remember. Let's see what he can do here this weekend. Jake Dennis needs a strong result to bounce back after his DNF yesterday, not getting away from the starting line. Big snap of oversteer out of turn 10. Let's see what it's like coming down into the final couple of corners. You can see a big wall of spray in front of him. That's his teammate Nico Muller that's just up the road through the final couple of corners here for Dennis. He was fastest in the 2nd sector, comes to the timing line. Let's see what Dennis can do then. 10th quickest for him currently, and goes up to P2, just 5/100ths of a second in behind Muller.
Andretti have found something this morning then.
Yeah, they have. Looking good there for him. As Roger Griffiths just watches on. And it looks like we are going to get Da Costa back out. So all of that impatience will be rewarded, thankfully. As Oliver Rowland on a bit of a flyer here as well. He's on a full attack mode lap. You can see that with the magenta lights all around the car. Coming down into the hairpin of turn 6 and 7. DS Penske just moves out of his way, gets a bit of a snap of oversteer coming into there, gathers it all up quite nicely. Thankfully, due to the wide nature of that corner, you can go a little bit deep on the first apex and gather it up for the second one.
Yeah, it's the same as this one as well. You can miss the first one as long as you get the cut back correct and don't then run out to the wall in the wet. You don't want to be anywhere near that wall as you're trying to put the power down.
Bettman's just had the lap time deleted for track limits down at turn 12. That's coming into this corner, so presumably he's just run it a little bit too deep into there. But Rowland, personal best for him in Sector 1 and Sector 2. What will this do for the championship elect as he comes to the line? It goes to the top of the pile by 0.3 of a second. Good lap time there for Rowland, as we do see Da Costa now coming out of the pit lane and onto the circuit. Oh, he's deep down into turn 2 is Rowland there, though. Gathers it up okay. It's still pretty tricky, especially in two-wheel drive.
And Maxi Günther, he's got a black and orange flag for tyre pressure infraction.
Yeah, well, I wonder if that could be a fine coming his way because it's free practice, or whether it will be a little bit more than that. Should just be a fine, we reckon, for practice there for Max Günther, if indeed he is found guilty of the crime. Barnard now currently quickest of the lot. Let's have a look at Rowland down into turn 2. Gonna have a bit of rear instability into here, I think. Oh, he's deep already, wasn't he, on the brakes?
So that looked like you, Katie, when you were floating in your Extreme E car.
Let's have a look. He was never getting into the car and then turned in. Big swapper on with all the weight over the front of it and gathered it all up quite nicely.
I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or not.
Oh, take it as a compliment, without doubt. Well, he saved it.
True.
Yeah, a good level of car control from Rowland and from yourself, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Here in the comms box, a very good level of control.
I appreciate that.
What about Jean-Eric Vergne then? What can the double world champion do? Comes to the line, 7th quickest. He goes in the second of the DS Penske's. Remember, he's not won a race since Hyderabad. Has had a podium finish this season, though. And that was back in Shanghai, wasn't it? Of course, the top 2 of the 1-2 finish that this team got, with Max Günther leading them home. Work going on here for David Bettman's car. We saw his lap time being deleted a few minutes ago with the track limits, so what they're adjusting on the back there is the two.
Degrassi's locked up.
Yeah, he's in the wall. Big crash down at turn 1. Degrassi in the wall, unsighted by his teammate Zane Maloney at the first corner, and it's a big shunt into the barrier. It's going to bring out the red flag, and the most experienced man in Formula E will be out of this session.
That is a huge accident for Degrassi, straight into the Tech Pro barrier. That is absolutely huge. And that is at maximum velocity, just aquaplaned off. Red flag's out, Degrassi's up straight away. But the Lola Yamaha team know that that is a big, big, big accident. And the car is actually smoking.
Fine coming up is by the time they get the car back and everything else, it's going to be pretty tight. Let's watch it again.
Yeah, let's have a look. So he's behind teammate Zane Maloney here. He's going to hit a puddle of water. He's way too fast into there in the first place.
I think something's...
Yeah, technical.
He's continued on at pace there. That doesn't look like he's just locked up. Let's watch on.
Yeah, let's have a listen. Yeah, something's not slowing down there, is it?
Yeah, it breaks out.
Straight to the scene of the crash.
Big crash. Big crash.
That'll certainly be the session over. I don't think we'll resume with that, but that is a
listen on
huge
board
one.
again here, just see if we can pick out anything we could. And so he's locked up, but there's a lot of speed going into there. I mean, even if you'd locked up, we've seen drivers do that and been able to slow it down. It's technical, isn't it, I think?
He couldn't see anything either.
No.
Yeah, but I think that was an avoidance. He was not in a position to turn. He wasn't cadence braking. He wasn't on and off the brake to try and release the locking. It's a bit early to make any full judgment, but it looked like Lucas was a bit more of a passenger in that one.
Second red flag, and that meant that Da Costa hasn't been able to get a lap time in as well. If he fell into a barrel of shoes, he'd come out wearing socks. He's had absolutely no luck in this session, has Antonio Felix da Costa, and he still sits 22nd and plumb last, some 10 seconds off of the ultimate pace that we've seen in that session. The timer, of course, continues to count down. We didn't get any added laps with that first red flag. This could be a bit of a lengthier one, so we may get a few more minutes added on to the end of this, but again, not ideal at all for da Costa.
Disaster.
Yeah, we will not be extending the session, we're just hearing. So 5 minutes to go of this session. That could be it. Yeah. That could be the order of FP2. Drivers are out of the car, and well, we saw a big incident into the barrier there for Di Grassi, but also damage to the Tech Pro barrier that's going to have to be repaired. So I think it's highly unlikely we will get a resumption of this session. They may even call it sooner than before the timer runs out. What does it mean, though, in terms of the order? Well, it means that Buemi's fastest, Barnard's in second, Rowland's up into third with that great lap time he got right towards the end of the session, Muller in fourth, Günther fifth, Bird's up in seventh place there, just behind Jake Dennis. Da Costa is absolutely furious as we saw him exiting out of the car. He's down in 22nd and last place. Teammate Pascal Wehrlein up in 13th. And we don't think the session is going to be resumed. So that will be it then. Disaster for Da Costa here on Sunday morning. Last of the lots, and through no fault of his own either.
Well, and for Porsche as well, when you're looking at it, because Pascal Wehrlein, you know, he'd have been hoping to be a lot higher than 13th at the minute. Obviously, they've got a big fight on with a really close teams championship at the minute. Oliver Rowland obviously up in third. So if worse was to happen and qualifying doesn't run later, then, you know, they're looking at quite a disadvantage heading into the race.
Let's have a look at what happened then on board here with Di Grassi. He's behind Zane Maloney.
Yeah, he's got flashing steering lights there, which I presume is locking.
It's a big hit into the barrier. Thank goodness for the Tech Pros there.
Yeah, the problem, the hit for Lucas isn't so much, I don't think. I think the biggest issue for me is the fact that the wheel is going to be coming back in towards the monocoque. So the first question I would have is, how has that damaged the monocoque?
Yeah.
And also, is there any other damage into the e-motor? And there you can see his engineer, Marcus Mickelberger, just knowing how this will compromise their day.
Yeah, the team knows that that is absolutely huge. As you say, if qualifying does run, if this thunderstorm doesn't appear that we've seen on the weather radar, then there's a big question as to whether he will actually make it out for that session. There's not a lot of time between now and qualifying. When are we due to go for that one? So it's just before 10 a.m. local time here. Qualifying gets underway at 20 past 11. So an hour and a half to fix that. It's a tall order, even for some of the most experienced mechanics in the game. Confirmation there, the session will not be resumed. Good news is that Di Grassi is out of the car and okay. Obviously frustrated following that one. Hopefully we'll get a word from him prior to qualifying and work out exactly what happened there for the lowly Yamaha app driver, but not what the team or the driver would have wanted, and not what any of the other 21 drivers would have wanted with the early end to their session after that red flag we had for Da Costa's wheel coming off as well.
Yeah, I noticed Di Grassi's on his steering, he had FPK come up as a red warning just as he went into the barrier, so...
Front power unit.
Yeah.
That's a GU.
So
if that's not recuperating, then it will effectively have that same effect.
Yeah, a lot of the cars do the majority of their braking on the front, don't they? They've got brakes on the rear, but it is predominantly a front braking car, so if you're not slowing down, that's Hence why he ended up in the barrier at such great speed. I mean, I have to say, did good avoidance to not collect his teammates following that one there as well. So, confirmation, the session will not be resumed. We're just seeing on our timing screen that Gunther, we knew he was under investigation for that black and orange, we knew he had a black and orange flag, but he's now under investigation for that because he didn't respect it, apparently. So, yeah, that's not good at all there for Max Gunther. Could be a fine, could be something a little bit more than that. We'll wait and see. Just looking outside the commentary box, the rain looks to have eased quite significantly. Let's catch up with Nico Müller. He's P4 at the end of FP3 here.
Yeah, I didn't actually look at where they were on the...
Nico Müller, very dramatic FP3 session there. Talk to us about the conditions.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, you know, on these different patches of concrete, basically. On some there's more standing water, on some there's a bit less, different macro, different micro roughnesses. So that's, we're actually here. So yeah, that's making life tricky because the grip changes all the time, and you try and adapt best possible. So yeah, easily you get caught out, but for us we had a pretty smooth session, so decent start to the day. Let's hope we can keep that going.
Give us a reflection of your race yesterday and what you hope to improve on today.
Yeah, we need more pace, basically. Other than that, the race was decent, came from 13s up to 8s, scored some good points, but we didn't really have the pace for more. So yeah, today we want to take the next step, and I think so far the learnings this morning have been good, so let's hope we can take that into quali.
Thanks, Nico.
Yeah, good to hear from Nico Müller. Ends the session 4th fastest in the Andretti. Just to compound the woes of Lucas Di Grassi, he would be out in Group A in qualifying, so there's even less time to get that car fixed. So Müller, 4th fastest, pretty pleased with that one. We'll see what happens as we head into qualifying. If this thunderstorm does appear, then, as we say, there is a likelihood that the qualifying session could be cancelled.
Yeah, but you say that, just stepped outside, and actually there's no rain at all. It looks clearer than I would have expected, and so I think we're probably going to be okay for the beginning of qualifying. However, I'm definitely not a weather forecaster.
Let's have a look at Lucas Di Grassi. You can see the body language there. He does not want to be talking to anybody at all after that one. No surprise there. Frustration for the Brazilian driver. Let's see if we can have a listen in here.
Yeah, I think the brakes got fine from the back. Brakes? Yeah, I think everything's good. So I think one more. I cannot see. I see because it's on the take home. You cannot see. You went into the one, but it was a big one. I aquaplane on the braking. I aquaplane on the braking and then went straight. No, the dark smoke was the brakes were very hot, so the brakes put the tactical on fire. The smoke, because the wheel went inside. The brake and the tire is not the battery. There was no inside green light, no blue light, and no red light. So green light and the smoke is coming from the brake.
So, braking issues then for Lucas Di Grassi. What did you ascertain from that there, Alan?
Well, first thing is that he said he thinks the chassis is damaged. And that's... But it looks more than just aquaplaning for me. He's definitely aquaplaning there, but he's not slowing down at this point.
Yeah, it's the rate of speed at which he comes in, isn't it?
Which I sort of think, whoa.
Yeah, it's just, he's so fast coming into here. I don't think we see anything on the dashboard.
The water, as soon as I brake, I aquaplane, and then I lost the whole braking.
See, just before
he says he's lost the whole braking at that point.
So as soon as he brakes, he aquaplanes, and then it's all gone.
Tracking of the position, and there is only one line there, so I got water at the beginning of the brake. Sorry for that.
Lucas is suggesting it's maybe a little bit more on his end than necessarily a technical failure. Didn't have to say it didn't look like that to me, but whichever way, it's quite a lot of damage to the car, as he's noted. The wheel coming into the monocoque is the biggest risk for qualifying, because if they have to change a monocoque, then, you know, it takes a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
And the first thing I would be doing if I was the team is actually getting the monocoque prepared already, just in case. You know, you don't want to lose any extra time.
Yeah, it's a big job to do something like that, especially with such a short amount of time between now and qualifying, an hour and 20 minutes to go. there and thereabouts until qualifying is due to get underway here at Tempelhof. There is Sergio Sette Camera in for Norman Nato this weekend. He's down in 18th fastest at the moment. There is Oliver Rowland on the other side of the garage, 3rd quickest for Ollie. Debrief going on inside the garage and also with the team back in France as well. Just to try and work out what their plan is going into qualifying and what they've learned in that 3rd free practice session.
Well, he definitely, when he went back out, remember at the red flag, he was asking to revert back on the anti-roll bar changes they had made, and then was significantly more competitive after the red flag, so it looks like it was a positive change.
Yeah, let's go down and catch up with Mitch Evans, and who's with Saunders.
Mitch Evans, that was a very eventful session indeed. Lots of things happening. The pace that you showed yesterday in the wet was better than anyone, but seemingly hard to replicate that today.
Yeah, I think it's a bit unrepresentative. I think you know, some people opted to go for the hype, like the attack mode 350 kilowatt quite early. So we want a different run plan, and we wanted to test a few things. So we never really got, well, just starting to get ready into the session. So it's kind of hard to understand where we're at. Yeah, tires will play a big part today. So we just wanted to do some learning. So yeah, obviously two red flags cuts the session short, and then the run plan gets cut short where we're going to start to try and turn it up. So, but yeah, could be a completely different day. Who knows? But definitely a little bit trickier than yesterday in terms of conditions. Got a lot more standing water, so it's made it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else happened. I know there's a couple of crashes, but it was eventful from the cockpit.
One thing for sure, you'll be carrying a lot of confidence into today from yesterday's win.
Yeah, it always helps, good results, but doesn't guarantee anything today, so we should keep level-headed, and in the wet, anything can happen, so we're going to just be realistic, and obviously, you know, expectation probably is there for us to do well, but there's no guarantees in these conditions, so let's see.
Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah, good to hear there for Mitch Evans. Trying to remain optimistic after his victory yesterday. Let's get confirmation, though, of a rather messy free practice 3 session. 2 red flags in that one, but it means that Sebastian Buemi ends up fastest on a 1:09.9. He's ahead of Taylor Barnard and championship leader Oliver Rowland. Then Nico Müller in 4th. Max Günther got himself up to 5th position right at the end of that session, ahead of Jake Dennis, Sam Bird, Jean-Eric Verne, Jake Hughes and Stoffel Van Dorn completing at the end of FP3. Just to remind you, by the way, Günther under investigation for not respecting the black and orange flag. We'll see what the outcome is of that one. De Grassi ended the session in the barrier and ended it for everybody else, for that matter, bringing out the red flag. We also saw problems for Antonio Felix da Costa. He was down in 22nd after not being able to get a representative lap time in, following his wheel coming off, then getting back out in the session, but then another red flag meant that he was not able to set a time. He's down in 22nd and last place with a very limited amount of track time compared to the other drivers. Everyone else was around 13, 14, 15 laps. Da Costa got 3 in. So here's some super slow-mos of Oliver Rowland making his way through turns 3 and 4. What do you think we've learned from that session, Katie, going into qualifying?
It's wet. I think it's going to be, well, it is meant to dry out later, but we are expecting more rain around qualifying. I thought it might be a dry race today, and now it's not looking that way. Mitch saying obviously the conditions are more difficult than they were yesterday. So I think qualifying is going to be very interesting. But obviously they have had the running this morning, which is making the difference, because yesterday they went out into qualifying completely blind. So I think we've learned from De Grassi also there's only one clean line on track. And if you get in the aquaplane, yeah, we can see the damage there as the car's lifted out.
Yeah.
Get in the puddle, then you're not stopping, is his learnings, I guess.
Oh, well, it's not going anywhere in a hurry, is it?
No.
Look at the wiring loom there, that's, and the tethers as well. It's being recovered now, this car, back to the pit lane. So plenty of work for that team. So let's have another look at Lucas de Grassi into the box at the end of that session. Not a happy boy. No surprise there at all. So then, a dramatic free practice 3. Let's have a look at some highlights from the session, shall we? Well, the green light came on at the end of pit lane after a 15-minute delay following some adverse weather here this morning. Drivers were struggling for grip and for traction out on the sodden circuit here at Tempelhof. We saw some big slips and slides, including for the likes of Dan Ticktum in the Cupra Kiro. We saw a few drivers pushing the edge of adhesion as well. This is Oliver Rowland having a moment down into the first corner. Thankfully, he gathered it up all okay. Eder Mortara, podium for him yesterday. As we see Da Costa and his wheel coming off. This brought out the first red flag of FP3 this morning. Thankfully, it didn't happen at a high-speed part of the track. It meant, though, that Da Costa only got 3 laps in that session. He was the slowest of the lot. The session was suspended. Da Costa made his way back to the pit lane as the car was then recovered. The drivers waited to go out in the second part of the session. Once it resumed, it was all action stations to try and set as strong a lap time as you possibly can. Drivers squabbling for track position, including Taylor Barnard, who had a bit of a tete-a-tete there with Robin Freitas going into the final couple of corners. Not particularly happy there was Taylor Barnard after that one as well. But the big drama was this. Lucas Di Grassi going off at the first corner, straight into the barrier in a big way as well. He's a doubt for qualifying in just under an hour and 20 minutes time. And we wonder what it's going to look like for him and for the other drivers, indeed, going into qualifying, depending on what the weather does. The upshot is, though, that Sebastian Buemi was the fastest of the lot by 2/100ths of a second. Of course, it is championship decider day potentially here for this man, Oliver Rowland. He's got a 50-point lead at the top of the order over Pascal Wehrlein. He needs to outscore his competitors by 8 points here today.
That's it, just 8 single points. Join us for qualifying in an hour's time with Megan Birch on the call for all of the action. Take care. Bye-bye.